Prelude to the Revolutionary War by John Zammarin and Richard. Navigation Act of 1651. The Navigation Act was passed by the British Parliament. It was put in place to control the trade between English and its colonies. It was resulting in the Anglo-Dutch War. Salary neglect. The salary neglect was a long-lasting British policy in the 13 colonies, which allowed the colonists to violate the laws associated with trade. This violated the Navigation Act by giving the colonists profits off trade. This helped the colonists get money and profit from the trade. Proclamation of 1763. At the end of the French and Indian War, the British put the Proclamation of 1763 in place. This prohibited all settlements west of the Appalachian Mountains. This affected the colonists by forcing them to return to the east side of the Appalachian Mountains. Sugar Act. The Sugar Act was passed to the end of the smuggling of the sugar and molasses from the French and Dutch West Indies. This affected the colonists because the British forced them to pay taxes to raise revenue. Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty were a group of political dissent that formed in Northern America British colonies during the early days of the American Revolution in Boston. The Sons of Liberty were formed in the summer of 1765. They started a protest against Stamp Act, wanted it gone, and felt like it was being taxed without their consent, which was wrong. Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was passed by the British Parliament to impose taxes on the paper. This required all American colonists to pay a tax on every piece of the paper used. Quartering Act. In 1765, Parliament passed the Quartering Act to outline where and how the British soldiers are able to find the board of American colonists. This required the colonists to help the soldiers and provide them with barracks. Boston Massacre. The Boston Massacre was a dispute between the British and the colonists. While the colonists fired a shot, it accidentally led to the British soldiers to shoot and kill 5 American soldiers. This was an important event as remembered to be a key event in helping excite the colonial public to the Patriot cause. Gaspee Affair. The Gaspee Affair occurred on June 9, 1772. A British ship named the Gaspee ran aground in Rhode Island, and a Sons of Liberty group attacked it and set the ship on fire. This meant for the British that they had to pay attention to the colonists as they tried to figure out who was a part of this action. They did not find who did it, but they did pay attention more, as this was the first brave action the colonists took on the British. Tea Act. The Tea Act was most likely liked as a catalyst for problems during the Revolutionary War, especially after the Boston Tea Party. The Tea Act was passed on May 10, 1773. The Tea Act was not meant to anger the colonists. Instead, it was meant to be a bailout policy to get the British India Company out of debt. The British East India Company was suffering from a massive amount of debt from the political and economic issues in India. Boston Tea Party. In 1773, Massachusetts colony boarded 3 British tea ships and dumped 342 chests of tea into the Boston harbor. They disguised themselves as Mohawk Indians to hide their identity. This symbolizes the colonists' courage and conviction. Intolerable Acts. The Intolerable Acts were a series of 4 acts passed by Parliament. These acts were laws to punish the colonists after the destruction caused by the colonists during the Boston Tea Party. First Continental Congress. In 1774, delegates from the 12 of the 13 colonies met at Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia to organize colonial residents to get the Intolerable Acts. This meant that the colonists could get out of the Intolerable Acts and not get punished for the actions of the Boston Tea Party. This is our bibliography.